Okay, thanks again, everyone, for joining. I'm really excited about this Hacktoberfest event. Um, I guess I can introduce myself as well. My name is Dan Yaw, and I'm currently helping to host Michigan Python. Um, yeah, there's been other hosts in the past, so I'm just kind of volunteering to help host right now, especially while everything's virtual. So happy to be here, and I think Hacktoberfest is going to be fun. As I kind of mentioned, I work for Ford as a engineer, I guess engineering complex systems. I actually don't do much Python at work, but it's a fun hobby of mine. So the agenda, this is a little bit longer meetup today because of the Hacktoberfest, but we needed time to be able to make sure everyone has their computer set up, go through like I guess introduce everyone open source, what Hacktoberfest is, go through like demos. If anyone has like open source apps that they would like us to contribute to, people can kind of demo them or kind of talk about them. And then we'll probably split up a little bit depending on what people are interested in working on, and create some smaller rooms where we can all kind of work together on things, and probably try to contribute for about an hour if we can. And then at the end, we'll leave some time for show and tell. Sound fun?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Indeed.
Hacktoberfest has a code of conduct, so they're dedicated to providing a harassment-free event for everyone, regardless of your gender identity, and expression, age, sexual orientation, disability, physical appearance, body size, race, ethnicity, religion, or technology choices. So this is just a reminder. Hopefully everyone feels like this is an inclusive environment. If there is any issues or yeah, I guess please let me know, and we can also, there's also an opportunity if you want to contact DigitalOcean directly, since they host Hacktoberfest. I'm not expecting there's any issues, but yeah, hopefully we can have a fun and inclusive environment to do our meetup today. So we did our icebreaker. Just a reminder, we're going to be recording this and put it on YouTube. Probably not the whole Hacktoberfest, us hacking on stuff, because probably not a lot of people are going to want to watch us doing that stuff, but at least setting up our environments and talking about projects to contribute to and what open source is. So definitely check out the previous talks as well. We do need speakers for 2020, and we really, really, really want a diverse range of speakers who have all kinds of interests and backgrounds, and professional developers, or just wrote your first line of code. And I definitely mean all of you. And we can mentor you on speaking. And we need a speaker for next month as well. And for we don't have any planned speakers going forward, so we need more speakers for the upcoming months. The next meetup is going to be the first Thursday, which will be November 5th at 7 p.m. We don't have a topic yet, so maybe it'll be your topic. So if anyone would like to speak, please let me know. I'd really appreciate it. Oh, I went back, sorry. So let's introduce Hacktoberfest. I need to stop sharing real quick and reshare. Okay.
Hi, Yancey Sproul.
Can everyone hear him?
Yeah.
Here, DigitalOcean CEO, and I'd like to welcome you to the 7th annual Hacktoberfest. Hacktoberfest is a month-long celebration of open source software for all 31 days in October. And in this event, this month-long event, we bring together over 100,000 people to contribute to the betterment of open source software. At this annual event, we have open source projects where developers become contributors, students and early learners, learn more and build their passion and experience. And we gather people together online. Historically, we've done offline, but in 2020, I suspect will be predominantly online. But we bring people together from over 150 countries throughout the world. At DigitalOcean, one of our core values is around community. And a pillar of the language of that value is we say, our community is bigger than just us. And I can find no better representation of our investment and our passion for fostering the global community of developers and entrepreneurs than Hacktoberfest. It's an important element for us because it brings so many people together in this very global way for 31 days, and it generates so much excitement and passion around one of our core value propositions as a business, which is around open source. And what we believe happens during the month of Hacktoberfest, not only do we bring people together, but we help people learn and we help people grow. And that's a fundamental tenet of what we're all about at DigitalOcean in terms of enabling global entrepreneurs and developers to test ideas, build their businesses, and chase their dreams. So what we hope that you'll gain is that you'll participate, you'll learn a little bit more, you'll join a project, you'll meet new people, and you'll help make open source software better for the legions of people who use it today and well into the future. So with that, I can't wait to see you all and what you will come up with this year at Hacktoberfest. And remember that for those projects that are accepted, you get the famous DigitalOcean Hacktoberfest t-shirt, a prize well worth earning during the month of October. So until then, be well, and we'll see you in October.
Okay, so that was Yancey kind of he's a CEO of DigitalOcean, kind of introducing it. I thought it'd be fun to throw a video in there. I guess I am wearing my Hacktoberfest t-shirt from last year, and I actually wear it a lot because it's like one of those really nice, comfy t-shirts. So it is kind of fun if you make 2 or 5 pull requests during the month to open source projects, then you kind of succeed at Hacktoberfest, and they give you kind of some swag for contributing. So kind of a introduction to open source, and if anyone wants to like reference the stuff we're going to go through, there's a link here. I think this like DigitalOcean page is pretty good for DigitalOcean, has some really great articles. So but we're going to kind of, so that's a good link if you want to like reference it in the future. But we're going to kind of go through, what are open source projects and how do you contribute to them and all that type of stuff. I guess, has anyone online contributed to an open source project before?
Yeah.
Cool. So some of you have maybe. So I guess maybe first of all, open source software, what is that? So open source software is freely available to use, redistribute, and modify. Projects are transparent on how they operate for the most part. I think most open source projects are very good at this. So what does that mean? Like there's normally some core contributors to the group, and there's distributed peer review, which means other volunteers are reviewing your contributions and seeing how it fits in with the overall project and doing distributed peer review. It's pretty open collaboration on both like code and documentation. So you can suggest a change to a project and get your change admitted. And I think it really does help enable diverse perspectives because you have all these people using open source software that are using it for maybe different use cases or different needs they have. And so the open source software ends up being very flexible and kind of caters to this diverse range of people. So I think that's why open source is very powerful. And I think Python is very unique in that it's one of the few very large programming languages that is really just built on open source. There's no large company backing it, like, Oracle or Apple or, one of those companies that back some of the other programming languages. And so really it is a team of volunteers creating Python. And most of the libraries you use daily is also just done by volunteers as well. So I think that is kind of special. And I think this is an opportunity where we can give back. So then the question is, okay, well, which projects should you contribute to? And I think the best way to begin to contribute is the software that you already use. And that's because you are, as a user, you have pretty valuable insight on like how the software is used and what your use cases are and what things could be improved. And if you do want to contribute to a project maybe you've never used before, you can do that as well. But often the best way to get involved is to start trying to use it. And you'll probably notice like, well, hey, this could have been documented a little bit better in the documentation, or hey, it would be a little nice if the library did this instead of that. And as a new user, often you have like a unique perspective as well to improve things. So some of the things to start with first is to make sure you read the documentation for the project, so that you understand how the project's supposed to work and how, expectations for contributions and how to set up a development environment for that project. There's often a contributing.md, which is a markdown file in the root of a project, and that normally gives contributing guidelines on how to get involved. And overall, just try to get a sense of the community. So if they have a chat site or an email list, or looking at how issues are submitted and pull requests, just try to like get a sense of how everyone interacts with each other is often good, because otherwise you can unintentionally kind of go into a project and make a bunch of noise and think you're kind of fitting in with the community, but yeah, you might not be as well as you thought you were if you don't kind of try to feel out how the community operates a little. I would say generally less polished projects are easier to get involved in. So if you want to contribute to like requests or Django or NumPy or like one of these like really polished, everyone in the world uses libraries, usually the barrier to contribute is a little higher. It's not that you can't contribute to these projects, but normally they're very well polished. The documents are really well done. They have millions of users or millions of downloads a month on a lot of those libraries and packages. And even like small changes to the code could affect a lot of people. So also like the consequences of the people who have to maintain it. They normally are getting bombarded with a lot more requests for stuff, and kind of the consequences of them releasing an update that breaks things is much higher. So it's often easier to get involved in a project that is a little like not so polished. It's like, wow, this is cool project, but it's like maybe not on that like top tier of like libraries that you use every day. So and I guess I'll have some ideas for some projects we can get involved in as well. I would also start small. I guess fixing typos and improving documentation is very valuable. Like every contribution is valuable to these communities. Adding a test to test an extra part of code, or fixing a typo in the README, whatever it is. I guess starting small is a good way to just like get a little momentum and get used to the community a little bit, and then you can start getting involved in more, starting to implement a feature or starting to get more involved in making changes or trying to fix bugs. Or another thing you can often get involved in is a lot of the really popular projects have, and I'll show you a website later on, but some of them have like 1,900 issues filed. And it's not because the library is buggy. It's just there's millions of people using it, so they end up getting a lot of like feature requests and like hey, I have some weird bug with my computer setup and stuff. And so often those projects could use a lot of help triaging issues. So you could help, try to reproduce an issue someone's having, try to see if it's really a problem with a software or someone's computer, just kind of trying to help the project triage that barrage of constant kind of negative issues being submitted could also help out a lot to those projects. Because once again, they're mostly just volunteers trying to help out on their like evenings or something. Okay, so my goal for this is everyone has Git installed, which is the version control system. Everyone has Python installed on their computer. And everyone's able to like get a general development environment set up and GitHub set up. If everyone already has that, we could probably go through this quickly, but I think getting everyone so that they have a good setup that then they can contribute with is probably the most important thing we do this evening. And then we can try to also submit some contributions to open source projects. Are people already pretty familiar with using Git and version control?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay,
Somewhat.
somewhat. So I'll still kind of go through it a little bit, and if I'm boring everyone, you guys can tell me to, yeah, go faster, Dan. So Git is the version control system. It's what allows projects to work together to all submit code that all gets integrated together. It's also very unique in that you can work on a project offline. Old version control systems often had like a central server, and it was very hard to like make branches and work offline and then merge it back together. But Git is really good at that. So you can, we'll kind of walk through the whole flow, but you can fork a project and branch off this main or master branch, work on it as much as you want on your computer, and then eventually commit your changes back and create a pull request to reintegrate your changes. And GitHub is what makes sharing and contributing to code easier. So it's kind of, I'd say, built on top of Git. You don't have to have GitHub for Git to work, but it's what allows you to share with others in a project and allows things like these pull requests to merge changes back in and stuff like that. And it's a website for us to log into, and most of the open source projects are on GitHub. There's some on GitLab as well. And even Bitbucket is another competitor to GitHub. So first thing we're going to do is check that we have Git installed. So how do we do that? I'm going to, I guess, which operating system are most of you using? I pulled out my other computer to, so I had Windows here. This is just Windows with nothing installed. And so I'm going to go down here and type in CMD for command prompt. And you can tell this is my wife's computer because it says the user is Heather here. So if I type Git version, it says Git is not recognized as an internal or external command. And then I say, oh. So how do we install this? Does everyone already have Git installed?
Yeah, I do.
I do.
I definitely don't, but I think I use it over the git.com, whatever.
Yeah. So I will quickly walk through this. Bear with me if you already have this installed. If you go to this website here, git-scm.com, and go to downloads. And I'm on Windows, but there's also installation for Mac OS. And if you're on Linux, you could probably apt-get install Git. But I'm on Windows. It automatically is going to download, and we're going to install Git real quick. Okay, so it's done downloading. So this is Git for Windows. I'm just going to go ahead and click next and next and then install it with the normal options here. And I think all these options are fine. So I'm just going to click next, and it's going to create this program. I guess I'm okay with using Vim here, but if you prefer a different text editor, you could definitely use that instead. So I'm fine with the default editor, but you might want to pick a different one if you're not familiar with that. And then it says Git from the command line, also from third-party software. So that's going to add it to our path, and that's fine. So I'm going to click next. And I'm going to go ahead and click next. And I'm going to click next again. We can let it use this min TTY. I think that's fine. And we can just keep on going and use Git Credential Manager. And then I'm going to click install, and this will install in 1 second here. Is anyone following along with me, by the way? Or am I doing this by myself?
I've done this before, so.
Cool. Okay. So I don't need to see the release notes. So I think we're all done. And I'm going to try to close this. And now I'd go git -- version, and I have Git installed. That's good. Lab demos are always nerve-wracking because who knows if it's actually going to work or not. Okay, so then the next thing we need to do is set up Git. So if you've never set it up before, we need to set up your name and email address. And you can do that by going to git config and -- global. And we want the user.name. And I'm going to put my name in here. And so this sets up when you commit to Git that it sets up your name in your commit so everyone knows that it was you who submitted it. And then the other thing we need to do is set up our email address. And it's the same command as git config -- global. And you also need your user.email. And then you need to put your email in quotes like that. And then we can go git config -- list. And you can see that these are all the configurations it has. But you can see here at the bottom, there's a username and an email. And that's what we want. So that's like the configuration you need to do when you first install Git. And then the next step is we need Python on our computer if we're going to contribute to a Python project. So how we do that is kind of the same. We can do Python -- version. And I would highly recommend everyone has probably Python 3.7 or newer. The latest version is 3.8.6 today. And if I type Python -- version, nothing happens because I don't have Python on this computer. But it is going to launch the software store and let us install Python. So all I did was type in Python, And then if you're in Windows, I highly recommend installing Python this way. You can also download it from python.org. But the nice thing with this is it sets up everything just just right. Otherwise, you have to like figure out if you want to add Python to your path and kind of all this other stuff that you have to figure out. And the store version just installs it right away. So it's kind of nice that they added this hook that you can just type in Python and it'll say like, oh, this is the latest version, and asks you to get it. Okay. If you're on Mac OS, you can either install using python.org. So if you go to python.org, there's also installers for all the operating systems. If you go to the downloads right here, and it's seeing that I'm on Windows, but you can go to all the downloads. There's ones for Mac OS, and Windows. If you're on Linux, you can type apt-get install Python 3.8 and Python 3-pip to install Python as well. Okay, so it's almost done downloading. Does everyone have a new version of Python installed?
Yep.
Yep.
Definitely.
How did everyone install Python? Through the python.org or through some type of package manager?
I think you can use Homebrew on Mac OS, but I forget.
Yep. Yeah, Homebrew is another good option in Mac OS. And actually that installed really fast. So it downloaded and says Python 3.8 just got installed.
I use Visual Studio Code.
Cool. So I just typed Python -- version and it has Python 3.8.6. So that's the newest release version of Python that's installed now. So that's awesome. Okay. Does everyone have Git and Python good to go? Does everyone have a new version of both?
Yep.
Okay. So the next step.
Hey, Dan,
is-
Dan, in the comments, somebody's asking if Python 3.74 is okay.
Yeah. Thanks for monitoring the comments for me. Yeah, 3.7.4 is fairly new. Well, it's actually somewhat old, but I think that should be good for what we're working on. It's at least relatively new, so I think you'd be fine for that. I was not monitoring the chat. Apparently, there's a lot of chat going on. So thanks for telling me, Mike. Does everyone have a GitHub account? That's the next step. So we're gonna, and actually I'm gonna swap computers back to my other computer. Actually, I think I'll stay on the Windows computer. That's fine. So if you have GitHub, if you don't have an account, you go to github.com and go ahead and sign up right now. I'm going to sign in. And I need to grab my password real fast. Okay, so I've logged in to GitHub. Does everyone have a GitHub account?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Yep.
Cool. So what we're going to do is go to github.com, and Mishipug is the organization. And then we're going to go to PR for pull request - practice. So Mishipug is the is our Michigan Python group here, and we're going to practice doing a pull request. Has everyone done a pull request before?
I have not.
Cool. It'll be our first. It'll be fun. So this is like the general user interface here. And somehow I'm drawing. There we go. Okay. So the main user interface. So these are the files in the repository. There's also at the top, the tabs have issues and pull requests. And you can also star repositories, which is kind of like almost like a bookmark, or you're saying, yeah, hey, thanks for the awesome open source project. So what we're going to do for this part is we're going to actually create a pull request. So the first thing we want to do is click on this fork right here. And the fork makes a copy of a repository, and a repository is where the code would be stored. So this is a repository called this PR-practice. And we're going to click on the fork button. And for me, I have a couple options here. Probably if you're not in other organizations, you're just going to have yourself there. So I'm going to select myself. And then it says forking Mishipug PR practice. So it's actually making a copy of the whole repository. And notice here it says Danya /PR practice, and it says fork from Mishipug PR practice. So this is my own version of this repository now. So I am free to do whatever I want with this repository. I can make changes to it. I can delete everything. I can, whatever I want to do, I can do, because it's a copy of it for myself. And then what we're going to do is using this copy of the repository, we're going to commit changes to it and then end up submitting a pull request from our repo to the main Mishipug one, and you can submit your first pull request. Is everyone successful at forking the repo?
Still trying to get to the PR practice repo.
I can also put the link in chat if that helps.
Okay, yeah, I got it. But yeah, in general,
Yep.
links in chat help. And fork that.
Yeah, so Samantha, you asked if the repo is forked, that's when it's copied. Yeah, so you're actually taking a full copy of all the files, and Git has kind of the full version history embedded in the repository. And you're making a copy of it for yourself, and puts it in its kind of its own space, your own repository for it.
So Dan, it's a split though, right? So if somebody were to go update the Mishipug PR practice, and then you went in tomorrow and looked at the Dan Yaw PR practice, you forked it the day before, so you wouldn't see any future updates, right?
That's right. But you can update your repo from, it's the Mishipug would be called the upstream one. It's the one you originally copied from, and you can update yours to match. So you could, if tomorrow we want to make changes, you can kind of sync your repo with a remote one that you copied from. And we'll kind of go through how to do that as well.
Thanks.
Okay, was everyone able to fork that? I see there's some forks now, which is cool. You can see that it counts up every time someone does it. And actually I can go click on that and you can see, everyone can see all the people who have forked it. So, okay. Stop me if you need me to, but I'm going to keep going. So now we can, so we copied it and now we want to clone it to our local computer. So this is on the internet, right? We're on a website. We want to get this information that's in the repo, all these files, onto our computer so we can make changes to them. So the next step here is on this green button that says code. It says clone. This is what we want. So we want to take a copy of this repo that's on the website and bring it to our local computer, and then we can work on it whether we're connected to the internet or not. And then we'll eventually put our changes back to the repo that's on the internet. So you can just go ahead and click on this. The HTTPS is fine, and you can click on this little copy icon here. So that copies it. And now we need to go back to our command prompt. And then we're going to type git clone, because that's what we want to do. We want to copy this repo to our computer. And then we paste in Windows, I right-clicked to paste, and we pasted in that address that we copied from the GitHub website. And then we go ahead and click enter. And then it tells us it's cloning it. It got a bunch of objects and brought them down with all the revision history, which this repo doesn't have very much, so it's really fast. And now that's on our computer. So if we do a dir here, you can see there's something called PR practice here. So we can change directory to PR-practice. And the files that were on the remote repository, there's a README file and a license file were copied there. So and there's also a git ignore that it tells it what files to ignore. Was everyone able to do that?
Yep.
Yep.
Cool. So the next command that's very useful is Git Status. So it tells you what is going on, like where you are. So we're on our master branch. That's like the main branch. And it says it's up to date with origin master, which is our repo that we forked. It's, for me, it was the Daniel/PR practice, this one. That's the origin. And it says there's nothing to commit and working tree is clean. So that means like we haven't made any changes. It's totally up to date. It's kind of what it's telling us. So now we can actually make a change. We can either, I guess, we can all just edit the README if we want. And you need to open the README with some type of text editor. I guess if you have Python installed, there is a text editor built in. But if there's already a text editor on your computer you like, you could use that as well. Or, yeah, does anyone have a favorite editor? I think someone said they had VS Code installed.
Yeah, me too.
Yep, that was me.
So I think I'm going to just use Vim, but you can use whatever text editor you want. So I'm going to type in my editor commands. Oh, and I don't have Vim apparently because it's not built in. Okay. I'm trying to remember what the editor built into Vim or the Python's called. I'm out of my league here because this isn't my normal computer.
IDLE.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Oh. So that, and the first command was the wrong one, but this is the editor built into Python. Thanks for the reminder of what it was called. So if you don't have an editor installed, this is always there if you have Python. So what we can do is we can edit this. So this is Markdown. So you could say like, this is a new section. I am updating the README. And you can write whatever you want in here. Markdown is just just text, and you can use things like, yeah, you can use the hash here to create like a title, but it's just text, and that's what will be generated on the website. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. And so I made an update. So if everyone wants to update something in the README file, that sounds good. And then I'm going to close my editor. And then if we type in Git Status, you notice it says, hey, you modified the readme.md. Was everyone able to make some type of edits? You could also create a new file, like you could create a Python file if you wanted to, or whatever you like. Okay, everyone good with that? So now we need to move this file we edited to a commit, which is how we store our changes in like the version history. So how we're going to do that is we're going to go to Git and type add and then type in the file name that we changed. So we type git add readme, and then if you type git status again, now it turns green because it says our changes have been staged. So they moved from kind of not being staged, like if you had a warehouse and you had a box, a package that needed to get on a truck, the not staged is just the package sitting in the warehouse, and now we went to git add, and now we've put it in the truck. And now it's staged to go somewhere. And then our commit, that's us kind of like driving off with a truck. It's gone, right? So we've modified our README, and now we're going to type git commit. And it should open a text editor. And it wants a commit message now. So now we need to type what we changed in the file. And normally you want the first line to be 50 characters or less. And if you had a lot to say, like you wanted to put a bunch of explanation why you changed it the way you did, you can press enter and then kind of create a new paragraph. And then those following lines could be like 70 characters is the normal. So you want to keep your commit message pretty small and compact. And you also want to start it with like what you did. So in this case, say we could, I'm not sure what a good commit message for this README update would be, but something like add new section for hello, something like that. And so that's kind of the tense you would normally use as well. You wouldn't like normally use like past tense, like you added something. You want to say like, hey, we added this new section. And then I'm going to write my file here, which in Vim is WQ for write and quit. And it said 1 file change, 3 insertions. So it knows we changed that file, it was inserted. And if we type git log now, you can see that this commit is done and it's got a hash, which means it's been written to kind of the log of what's been done. And our commit message is there with a time and everything's there. So you can see now our package is on the truck and has left the warehouse and it's been logged. And it's forever in history type of thing. Now you could like bring the truck back and amend your commit if you want to, but yeah, it's gone for now. Was everyone able to do that? Did it work to commit a change for everyone? Or did anyone get stuck there?
Looks good.
Cool. Okay, so the second thing I wanted to show, which actually goes back to your question, Mike, of, okay, well, if someone made a change to the Mishapug repository, how could we update our repository? So the way we're going to do that, if you type git remote and v -v, and this is going to show you your remote repository. So in this case, we have origin there. That's the name of it. And the name actually doesn't mean anything specific. Normally, like the where you got what you cloned is called the origin, but you could name it whatever you want if you wanted to. Like there's nothing special about that name. So you could name it, I don't know, the hello repo or something. You can name it whatever you want. And then it says what it tied to. So that's the actual website that we cloned it from. And I think everyone else here has theirs say their name /PR practice, but I accidentally must have cloned it from the main site on accident. Does everyone see that? So now what we want to do is go back here and go to the main website and copy under Mishapug /PR practice, copy that address, or it's the exact same, I guess it's the exact same thing you see here. And you want to go to git remote add, and then it's the main address for the Mishapug one. And we actually need to name it too. So it's git remote add. And normally you call the one that your fork copied upstream. I wish I could explain a clear reason why it's called upstream, but that's the original thing you copied from. And then origin is normally the name of your fork. So when we click that and then type git remote v, notice for me, I have Mishapug twice. So I'm going to remove my origin and re-add the correct one that I should have done in the first place real quick. And then mine should look like yours. Git remote add origin. And then I'm going to add mine back in. And then if I list them, see my origin is the Danielle one, and then the upstream is the Mishapug one. Is everyone able to do that?
Yep.
Cool. So then if someone had updated the Mishapug one, you could actually go to git pull upstream. And it says, hey, we need to specify a branch. So you need to take master in as well. So you could say git pull upstream master, and it'll go out to the upstream master and try to fetch any changes back and merge them in automatically. So that's how you could say up to date. And then you could also push your changes to back to your origin by typing in git push. One thing I forgot to have everyone do when we were committing changes is we probably should have created a branch of our master branch. And we committed to master, which is okay, but normally when you're working on a change, you should create a branch instead of working on, so if we go to Git Status, it says we're on branch master. We should create a branch to work on. And so the way you do that is you can type git checkout branch and then give it a name. So this is like readme update. And so we've taken like the main master version, if you can think of Git as like a tree, and creating a branch off to work on. And then once we create a pull request, we can merge those changes back into main repository masters to integrate back in. So we've created a branch now to work on. And so you can make more commits to this, like you could update the README more or add Python files or anything you want and work on it there. That's pretty much I know we went through a lot of like Git commands, and I think Git can be a little bit scary when you're first working with it, and there's a lot of commands there, but you've pretty much done most of the main things that you need to do using Git. So did anyone have any issues with that? Everyone feeling pretty good?
Quick question. I accidentally got the upstream sent to my own fork. I tried rerunning the Git remote add and it says already exists. Is there a separate change command?
So do you have, I guess, are you trying to replace your upstream with the Mishapug one? And right now you have it as your local fork, is that right?
Right.
So what you can do is type git remote rm for remove, and then type upstream. And that blew away your upstream, which is totally fine. And then you can go back to the Mishapug PR practice and copy that link. And then you just run git remote add upstream and paste the thing back in. And then you can check git remote speed for listing them and see that it was updated right. Thanks for joining, Samantha. I see you're taking off. Maybe she already left. Okay. Are we having fun yet? Okay. So the last step in our search for this is to submit a pull request. So the way we do that is you're going to type in git push, and actually before you do that, make sure like you did create a branch. So you're on branch readme update or something. Was everyone able to create a branch? So if you type git push, it's going to tell us a different command to use, this set upstream, but I never remember what to type in for that. So I just tell it to say get push and let it tell me what to type in. So it's git push, set upstream, origin, readme, update. So it wants you to tell Git that that's the upstream branch, which is fine. I just never remember what the command is, so I always just type in git push. So then if you type in that, it's going to now ask you to log in. At least for me it did. And I have to get my password once again. So bear with me 1 second. I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second. I need to log in and then I will reshare in just a second here. Is everyone else able to log in? I have two-factor authentication enabled, which is more secure, but then if you're setting up a new computer, it's kind of a pain.
Yeah, was that?
What's that?
Does that create a new branch?
When you type in that command.
And then the next was the push.
Yeah. So here, I'll share in 1 second. So is git checkout -b and then the branch name.
Got that.
And then, yeah, it's git push, and it'll give you an error that you need to set an upstream branch. So you type git push -- set - upstream origin and then the branch name. Okay, thanks for bearing with me. Let me reshare my screen. Okay, so I was able to log in, and then it even says, hey, you pushed this branch. You probably want to submit a pull request, right? Is everyone able to push?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if you
sorry,
go-
I can't.
Yep.
I'm on a small screen here, and when those things go by, like if you paste in the chat or.
Do you want me to put one of the commands into the chat?
Okay, yeah, the okay, git push set dash upstream.
Yeah.
Origin.
You can type git push is what I did, and then it'll tell you what command to type in. But I can put the set dash upstream.
Oh, I see.
Origin.
Just git
and then
push. Got it.
Yep. So this is, so if you refresh if you go back to GitHub and refresh, it's going to actually come up with this box here that says, hey, you just pushed here. Do you want to create a pull request? And so you just push this green button that says compare and pull request. It automatically names it with your title that you had for your commit, because you just had one commit you're adding. And you could say like, you want to give a comment on like, hey, why you're changing stuff. But I think for here, we can just say like, added a new section to improve the docs or something, right? And what you can do then is at the top, it's kind of telling you what it's doing. So it's taking the Danya PR practice README update branch and requesting to merge it into the master of the main Mishipug PR practice. So that's integrating our changes we just made back into the main repository. So everyone would have them that's using kind of this PR practice. So you can click create pull request. And then now it takes you we're back to the Mishipug repo, and notice there's pull requests here now. And so we can view all the pull requests. So mine came in. We have one from Jay. And we can see what he did. So you can go up here to files changed. And so he created a section and put an edit there. And then what I would do is say like, yeah, I like those changes. I could even review the changes here and say like, your changes are approved. They look good, right? I submitted a review. And then I can click on merge pull request. And so it's merged now. And then if we go back to the main repo, we go to the main repo, his changes are here, right? And there's a few other ones. So Fritz, you added one, I think, right?
Yeah.
And then notice what it's saying now. It's saying there's a conflict. So it's saying like, hey, you both edited the same thing at the same time. So now we have to resolve. And I think it'll let me do it online. So you put adding line to README. You had that. And so, oh, I don't mean to remove his edit. So now I can merge the changes in. So I'll mark it as resolved. You could also do this on the command line as well, but since we're just trying to merge everyone's PRs in, this is good. And I'm going to merge yours. All right, everyone's making pull requests now. See, it's got another conflict. We all edited the same file, right? And then we're going to merge this one. Oh, what is it saying? Oh, yeah, commit merge. So it's saying, hey, you're going to actually commit this to master, which is fine because we're trying to merge these pull requests. And we can merge it now. And Mike, you're last up. All right. Normally you wouldn't have so many, I guess, conflicts, right? Because normally people would be working on like different files or something like that. They happen sometimes where you have merge conflicts and you have to like merge changes in, but it's pretty quick to do and kind of figure out how your change goes in with a change someone already else made. It is important though, like if you're working on a project, I won't merge mine, I think that's fine. But now everyone's changes are all in the main repo, right? So everyone's integrated their changes back in. So remember we said, hey, so I guess back in Git, we can now check out master. And I'm going to also go to Git branch D and my README update, because that deletes that branch. We're done with that now. And then I'm going to go to Git pull upstream. Actually, it'd be better if I merge my pull request first before I do that. Otherwise, it's going to complain at me. Let me merge mine in as well. So what we're going to do is just kind of show you that you can also update from the original, and then you're going to have everyone else's commits in your local repo as well. And then I think we'll be done kind of with our playing with Git and GitHub for a minute, and we can get into the contributing to projects. You can also, once you've merged your changes, you can delete the branch on your remote on your origin because you don't really need that anymore. So then I'm going to go to Git pull upstream. And so it's pulling in all those changes. And if we edit our file, oh, what happened? Why don't I have the latest versions? Oh, I had to type git pull upstream master. So that was a mistake I made. And notice it says it made 17 changes to readme.md. So the first time I just said git pull upstream, it said I didn't specify which branch I wanted to pull from. So that's why it was kind of complaining at me and I didn't notice it. Sorry about that. So now when I open the README, you can see everyone's changes are now locally on my computer as well. So now you have like the updates to the remote. So now if you want to make another change, you can make it to this version and you're not going to have like merge commits when you create a new PR, right? Because you have the latest now. All right. How are we feeling? We did our first PR. That's kind of fun. Okay. Let me stop sharing here and resume sharing on my other computer. So kind of finding projects to contribute to. We got a few options here. there's a website. If people are familiar with Awesome Lists, there's one called Awesome for Beginners. And if you click on this, there's all these Python projects people have come up with that they say like, hey, these people are friendly, they're great to contribute to, like, you know, hey, yeah, it's kind of things that like they label easy things to get started with or good first issues. So that's nice, you know, what's a good thing to contribute to. And normally they're like kind of friendly projects and welcome new contributors. So that's good. Oh, I clicked on a link. I'm not sure how to get back. Sorry about that. I blew away my presentation. Okay, so the other one, there's a website called upforgrabs.net, which lists projects that have issues labeled up for grabs. There's also one that lists goodfirstissues.com, lists projects that have labels on the issues for good first issues. And the final one is codetriage.com. It has projects that are very popular, and you can search by language. So you could like filter by Python projects, for example, and say like, it will actually list the ones that have the most issues that need help with people triaging issues. So those are all great websites to find projects to work on or good first things to contribute to. Those are all great resources for that. So a couple things I want to mention. So if we go to beware.org, so we're kind of into the demo time of this, where I want to talk about here's some projects I can personally help you contribute to. And then if anyone else knows projects that you're interested in or stuff like that, you can definitely give it a shout out as well. So Beware is a collection of Python tools and libraries that allow you to write and release Python native applications that are cross-platform. And I truly mean like native. So you can create from a Python code base, you could create like a Mac OS, Windows, Linux, iOS, Android native app. And so it's a collection of tools that can do that. I'm a core contributor to this project. And it's kind of, I would say, very like a beta project. It's not fully done and polished, but I think it's really exciting. What this could provide, where you can write up some Python code and then deploy it to like all your devices and have like a native app would be really awesome. So I think this is a really good project. And one of the things that needs contributors right now is Briefcase. And so this allows you to take some Python code and package it into a standalone installer for the different device. So either package it for Mac or Windows or Linux or wherever you're trying to deploy it to. So that's a very cool project. And if anyone's tried to package a Python app, it can often be very challenging. And the other thing is Toga. So there are Gui Toolkits built into Python. Like there's tkinter. People are also probably like familiar with Qt and GTK and those types of things. This one is Toga is a GUI toolkit that allows you to write these native widgets on all platforms. So it's kind of the main, this is how you would program an app in that's cross-platform. So that's Beware. The other shout out I want to give is at work, I help model like complex systems. So for the last 3 years, I've been in my spare time creating a graphical modeling tool called Github that's written in Python. And I didn't create it myself. It was an app that existed for a long time now, since like 2001, I think, is when the project first started. But I helped modernize it to the latest Python and update it all, and also support SysML, which is a systems modeling language. And I could show you what this looks like. I guess this is another app. So what you could do here is, I guess, model a complex system and show how the system is connected to each other and write requirements on the system and stuff like that. So we actually like model complex systems using SysML, because then you can like automatically generate all your documentation you need and really understand how the system works. So I use that a lot at Ford, not this particular app, but we do that type of like modeling practices there. So I contribute to this project too, because I think modeling systems is pretty awesome. So those were kind of 2 projects I wanted to call out that I contribute to a lot. I'd be happy to help anyone contribute to those. And I'm also happy to help anyone try to contribute to anything else you're interested in. But I just wanted to at least give a shout out to 2 things that I guess I have contributor rights to. Does anyone else have any projects you're like interested in or want to give like a shout out to? Or are people more interested in I guess data science stuff or web development? Or
Yeah, I do mostly data science stuff, but I think this is all super interesting. Like even the few you showed, I'm kind of poking around on other open source projects right now. So
yeah,
it's like a little bit overwhelming, but I'd love to get involved.
yeah,
Just because it's all new for me right now.
yep. So I think this is time for us to, and we don't have that much time tonight to actually like make a contribution, but I guess we can at least start and get started. And then I think we have the tools though we need, like we have Git installed and we've seen how to make a PR. I think that's like the most important things. And I think we kind of gave an overview of like, hey, read the documentation first, try to use whatever it is. And you'll find all the issues in the documentation that you didn't understand how it's supposed to work. And those are like great things to help out and contribute to, especially as someone who's never used something before. Any thoughts? Is anyone interested in contributing to any of the projects I threw up there? Or is there something else we want to work on? We can work on something as a team, or. And we can also break up into kind of separate, into separate sub rooms as well if we want. Breakout rooms.
Yeah, they look really cool, but I don't know if I would have the knowledge to be able to contribute to these. I have some projects that I've been working on, but
I think, I guess for all these things, I guess once again, I would encourage all of you, if you know how to write any Python at all, or even if you don't know any Python and can read documentation and stuff like that, I think everyone has the skills and the ability to contribute. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. But I think it does kind of require, hey, if we want to contribute to Beware, well, let's go try the tutorial and try to make a simple open source app, right? And try it out. And then you're probably something's gonna break, and you're gonna be like, that wasn't that easy. Okay, why does the documentation tell me to do the wrong thing or something, right? And make a PR for that. So I think even if you've never used these things before, I think they're definitely something you can still contribute to. Even if, I guess I've had people contribute to both Gafor and Beware who don't know any Python at all, and they helped out with documentation and stuff. Like they'd never programmed, but like they helped improve our README file and all, yeah, and our documentation. All that stuff is super helpful because then the next person coming along will understand how the project works a little bit better, right? So.
Okay.
So would like Toga have a README file that's like an example in this case?
Yeah, so if we go to, actually, probably so there's, you can go to the GitHub, so beware/briefcase, and there's also the Toga as well. And the README files, when you open them, will be open on the main screen. And most of these have pretty small README files, but you can go to the documentation for them. And there's tutorials right here, both for, and we can open the, sorry, let's go back to Beware.
You're not sharing the screen right, your screen right now.
Sorry, you're right. Forgot about that. So if you go to the Beware website, you can say, hey, take the tutorial. And you click on Beware tutorial. So there's like a tutorial on how to go through each thing. And on the left-hand side, it has the 7 tutorials. So yeah, let's get set up. So it actually kind of walks you through like, hey, how do you install Python? Okay, we already walked through that. So we're already set with installing Python, right? And then it says, hey, okay, now you need to install dependencies. Well, you need Git. We already set up that stuff. So we're already like rocking our tutorial, right? And then the next step is actually create a virtual environment. And so we could actually follow along with this, right? So it kind of walks you through the tutorial. And so if people want to work on these tutorials right now, we could do that together, or that's always a good place to start on the tutorials, and then we'll get stuck somewhere and someone will be like, hey, this wasn't very clear, and then we could update the documentation, or that sound like a good idea?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking of.
Yeah. Is everyone familiar with a virtual environment?
Yeah, I've used it a few times.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
a few times.
This is kind of what it's going to have, this next step on setting up a virtual environment. That's what's going to kind of have you set up an area where you have isolated dependencies. So when you install stuff, it's kind of just for Beware instead of, the problem if you don't create virtual environments is you might have a couple Python, libraries or apps installed, and they might have like conflicting dependencies where one needs one version of a library, another one needs another version. So if you keep all your stuff in a virtual environment for what you're working on, then everything stays like nice and tidy and clean, and you don't have issues like that. So that's kind of what that's for. I'll work on this as well. We can all hang out together.
So we're going to want to install this with pip.
Yeah. So once you create the virtual environment, then it's going to have you, I think, install with pip on the next steps, I think. Yeah, then it has you pip install it once you have the virtual environment set up. Anyone get stuck yet?
I'm using Windows, but I'm using Git Bash.
Yeah.
So I think I need to use like a Mac OS or a Linux command for this, for activating it, right?
Yeah. So you would use. I think you would use the source. This guy right here. The Linux one would probably be the same in Git Bash. I think Ramesh, you are looking for the links as well, huh? In the chat.
Okay, yeah. So I had to do that, but I had to use the path, the Windows path. So it doesn't have bin, but it has scripts.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Ramesh, I put the links in chat. I got the simple Hello World app to launch. I don't know if anyone else got that.
Working on it.
After the pip installation, what should we do?
What was that, Ramesh?
After the pip installation, so I installed the briefcase using the pip install briefcase.
Yep.
Yeah. Next.
Did you type briefcase new?
No.
I think that's the next step. So it's gonna like bootstrap a project, and it's gonna ask you a bunch of questions like what are all the names, the apps, and all that type of stuff. So you can just probably keep most of the default things, like call it Hello World and all that type of stuff.
Okay. What is the GUI toolkit? It's Toga.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. The Gui Toolkits, Toga.
get the hello world window.
Awesome. You have a GUI app.
Yeah.
So I think the next tutorial like explains how the Hello World app works in tutorial 2, and then had you add some content to it.
All right. Well, I got to show up.
Awesome.
In the main.py file, in the Hello World app, it's if name equals main, and it's main.main_loop. I've never seen that main_loop before. Oh, sorry, this would be like near the top of tutorial 2. The first step after the Hello World.
This guy, yeah.
Yeah, right there. So it says right where your mouse was, main_loop. What's that do?
So because this is a GUI application, it's starting like an application main loop, so that when it's kind of the main loop is like this, I guess, main process of the app that's running, I guess, over and over again. So it continuously runs. Unlike if you're running like a script, it'd run through once and then it'd like exit or something, right? So it's continuously running so that your app stays running and just doesn't like, launch and then close again, because it'd be like, well, I rendered everything, I'm done or something. So it's continuing to run your app over and over and over again. So it can keep on getting input, or you can interact with it and stuff like that. So that's called like the main loop.
Cool. Yeah, I've never seen that. Cool.
And I think that's something that Toga kind of provides is that loop for the main.
I guess if I would have just read the next paragraph, yeah. I liked hearing it from you better, but yeah, the main loop is a GUI application that listens for user input like mouse clicks and keyboard presses.
Cool. At least I wasn't completely wrong. At least what I said kind of matched what
yeah,
there, I guess.
it was better.
told you all that, and then I accidentally deleted my main loop. And then it didn't work. Anyone stuck yet?
I'm just reading through the widgets, I think. So you can add a label.
Yep.
You don't put coordinates in?
Yeah, so when you just, oh, sorry. When you type your name Dan in, it's, yeah, it goes right to your terminal. Okay.
Yep. At least this
Okay.
one does. It's having it print out Dan, but you could have
just-
like a pop-up come up in the app or something, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, back to your question about, I guess you were asking about locations or coordinates or something?
Oh yeah, I was just reading the, what is this? Adding some content of your own, the code they
Yeah.
have here.
Yeah. It uses actually something from CSS or like CSS Lite, this thing called a pack. So it packs in the objects and you can tell it like which direction to pack them in and how much room to leave between different objects. So that's kind of how it lays out stuff.
Okay.
Can this used in iOS and Android platform as well?
Yep.
So it's kind of native library or something like that. You have to put it in the build.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. It uses
Mhm.
different ways to achieve that in different operating systems. So in Android apps run in Java if you want a native app. So it actually
Yeah, Kotlin.
compiles your Python into Java class files.
Okay.
And then for iOS, you can program for iOS and macOS using Objective-C. And so it actually kind of calls the libraries for those platforms using like the Python C APIs. And there's a tool called Rubicon that's part of the Beware project that helps kind of build that bridge between Python and Objective-C for the platform. So it really is like it's calling native. It is a native app because it's calling the native toolkits for that platform.
Okay.
And that's also probably another reason why it's kind of like beta and needs lots of work. Is it is a lot of work. I guess creating a GUI toolkit and all the libraries to make it work seamlessly on all platforms, right? Is just like a huge undertaking. So, but it's pretty exciting.
So actually, I'm an Android developer, so that's
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually they've made a lot of progress on Android this year. The Python Software Foundation gave them a grant, so they hired a developer full time this year to help implement a lot of the Android platform stuff because it was working just a little bit and it was a bunch of stuff broke, so it wasn't working for a while. So this is actually I don't know if you can see this. This is on iOS, and they have an app called Travel Tips on the iOS. You can actually search for it on iOS and Android App Store. So it's like an example app. And I don't know if Apple or Google knows they have Python apps in their app store.
Yeah. Mainly they are Kotlin and Swift now.
Yeah. So I know we are getting close to 9 o'clock. I think we did spend a little bit longer than I was anticipating, and that's my fault on the intro stuff. I guess I don't actually feel bad. Most of us didn't commit something to one of the open source projects yet, but I think there's 31 days for us all to work on stuff and try to commit something. So I've been to PyCon before where they have multi-day sprints, and it often takes like a few hours for people to get their development set up, read all the docs, figure out what to change, and make a PR, right? It just takes a little while to get up to speed. So same thing here, definitely. There's also Beware. If you go to gitter.im, Beware has a chat room. If people are interested in contributing to this, there is like a chat room you can join and talk about it as well, and ask for help with stuff or say, hey, I'm stuck with things. So that's an option if you are interested in contributing to Beware in the future. Hopefully, though,
Is Gitter? I've never heard of Gitter before. Is it like Discord?
Yeah, it's very much like. Well, I'm not as familiar with Discord. It's very much like I guess Slack or
Okay.
Internet Relay Chat or something like that. And it was. You can log. It's nice because you can just log in with your GitHub login, and also then people can link to pull requests and stuff pretty easily. So it's pretty like low friction for working with GitHub, and you can chat about projects on Gitter as well. So like the 4 that I mentioned, yeah, you can see me chatting in here. There's Beware has a chat room, which is pretty active, as you can see. So that also helps too to, yeah, once again, like learn the community just a little bit and understand how people interact with each other and stuff and ask for help and stuff. Hopefully though, hopefully everyone's feeling like they could go contribute to something and make a pull request, and I guess excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you make 5 this month, you can get a t-shirt, which is fun. Does anyone have, I guess, any questions we could cover before we wrap up today? Or I guess, how's everyone feeling? Are you feeling confident you can go make a pull request somewhere?
I think I might be able to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe unsure, but just feeling a little dangerous, like you might be able to do it or something, right? So.
Yeah, I like the idea of do something till it gets stuck, figure out the answer, then contribute that to the docs.
Yeah, definitely.
That's an algorithm. I can do that.
Yeah, that's definitely a great way to contribute, because if you're getting stuck there, probably lots of other people are getting stuck there as well, right? So. And then the next person that comes along won't get stuck there. So you've made a big contribution. So that stuff, all that stuff helps a lot. Yeah, I guess I spend a lot of my free time trying to contribute open source, because once you start doing it a little bit, it does become like a lot of fun, and you feel like you're giving back. And I'm not a professional programmer. I don't, write that much Python at work, and I've been trying to work on open source projects for the last like 3 years or so ago, or I started about 3 years ago, and I've learned like a ton about Python just from like, yeah, solving little problems here and there on like real applications, real libraries that need help from contributors. And yeah, you learn so much just, working on this stuff. So I think it's really fun. I think it beats Python video tutorials any day, right? Because you're like having to solve like a real problem and kind of learn as you go and look up stuff on Stack Overflow or Google for things. So I think it's a lot of fun. Cool. Any other questions about anything before we sign off for now?
Not from me. Thanks for presenting this.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. And definitely, I still need presenters for next month. So if anyone has any ideas, please let me know. Get in contact with me on Meetup or send me a note. Or if you know anyone else who might like to present about something.
What kind of presenting?
It can be about anything. So we have all kinds of topics. People come and present on things like data science, website scraping, how to build simple, people have done tutorials on Django or I feel like people often think like, hey, to be a speaker at one of these, you have to be like a professional at something. But most of the people who come to meetups are pretty new at, if, for example, pretty new at Python. So actually the best talks are actually more of like the beginner stuff. So even if it's like, this is how for loops work and this is how you do them and stuff like that are great topics. So it can be just about anything. If there's something you're interested in and you feel like you could teach someone else it, that sounds like a great topic. So
Okay, I might be able to do that. I taught my brother how to build a game in Pygame.
oh yeah,
A couple months
something like
ago.
that would be awesome. Would you like
Yeah.
to do a talk on Pygame? I don't think we've ever had anything like that at the meetup before. So even a topic like that would be awesome.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to work on it a little bit, get something
Okay.
together, but
Yeah.
that could be fun.
Are you on Meetup? Can I send you a message on there?
Yeah, I have the app.
Cool. I'll do that.
Cool.
I'm trying to stop sharing my screen and it's not working. I don't know if I broke Zoom or. Okay. I guess I'm going to stay connected then. All right. Thanks everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. And yeah, hope to see you next month.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.